Hello and welcome to the Content Bite. We're a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, founder of the jobs board and freelance community Rachel's List. I'm also a freelancer, journalist, copywriter and content producer. My co-host and expert in image sourcing, which is what we're talking about today, is the fab Lynne Testoni. Hello, Lynne.
Hi, Rachel. Lovely to see you again. For those who are tuning in for the first time, hello. I'm also a writer, content creator and journalist. And today's subject on sourcing images was suggested by one of our listeners. We love that, don't we, Rach?
We do.
Yeah, Michelle Bowes, who said that as a writer, she's often being asked to source images to accompany her words. I wanted to know about some good resources and also some background on copyright issues.
Mm-hmm. I think we did mention a couple of image sources in an earlier episode, maybe when we were talking about
some of our favourite tools.
Yeah, and also what people wanted out of a content writer. So it's worth going back. Can I just apologise for my very croaky voice and possible coughing, and also my new budgie in the background, which likes to tweet,
likes to chirp.
Yeah, likes to chirp a lot. She's a baby.
We keep it real here.
We do, but yes, we'll find that episode and put it in the show notes. But if you are looking for images for clients, my favourite places to look are Canva, but we'll go into Canva a little bit later in the episode. Gratisography.com is a free image library run by a photographer, but I think he brings in other images now. But anyway, it's very whimsical and very offbeat. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, that can be good. If you're looking for a GIF, you want to go to giphy.com. They're the undisputed first stop for great GIFs, but you could also try tenor.com. There's also Pixabay, which is a really great image library used by an app, WordSwag, which is fantastic for social images. And also Pexels is really good, Pexels, and they do free images and videos if you're looking for a video to put in a website banner. I know a lot about images myself because I am asked to provide them and resize them all the time. And I know you are too, aren't you?
Yes, I do. I mean, when we're talking about free images, I use Unsplash a lot. That's probably my go-to place. I don't do a lot of free images. I also work with a lot of photographers. I commission them and I source them. And I think that's partly because I've been working in this industry for quite a long time. I've got a really good contact book. I do know a lot of photographers, but occasionally I also work with the creative director, like on a bigger project, but that's less and less these days. And I think knowing good photographers and choosing the right one for a job is a particular skill. And I find it's great as a team. And I usually work with editorial style photographers because a lot of clients I find want an editorial style for content marketing, and they've geared or moved away from sort of advertising style photographers. And editorial photographers love content work because it pays a lot better. And also editorial work is drying up. But I think we should probably talk about copyright issues because Australian law means that copyright rests with the photographers and the writer for the words. But that means even if you commission a photographer to take photos of a client's project, they still own the images. And technically they need to be paid whenever a client uses them. So most photographers that I've worked with, and most of them these days, are happy to give you copyright as part of the commissioning. And it's something, though, to really sort out right at the beginning, because there's a few that don't. And a few clients and me have been caught before. So they've used it for one thing, and if they've wanted to reuse it on social media, they've had to pay more. And also most media outlets now make photographers sign away all their rights when they use them. So if it has been in the media, an image, often it means you can't use it either. And you've got to pay the media outlet, which is really tricky because half of the media outlets have even closed all the different departments that look after that, which makes it really hard.
That's really good advice. I don't really use photographers that much, although I am project managing something at the moment for a client, which is a photography and videography project. But I didn't know that. So that's really interesting. I'm going to take that advice and run with it.
Yeah, it's important because certainly an experienced high quality photographer is much more particular about copyright because they've come from that, whereas a younger one might be a bit more sort of laissez-faire, but it's always good to have that conversation. And also media is a bit of a nightmare too.
But what if the client doesn't have budget for a photographer, which is often the case these days? They're going to be after stock images, but what if they have a budget for stock images?
Yeah, well, there are a few good places for stock images. I do find sometimes, though, it's good to have a look at both options. Like I had a project for one of my clients who is a food safety person, and she needed particular images. There was no way we could find them on stock images. So in the end, it was actually cheaper to do a full day shoot, which is about $2,000, and she got something like 15 images, which is way cheaper than buying stock images. And then she got things that were Australian. A lot of the different image libraries are very American. So if you know, particularly if you're looking at something like plants or anything, it's quite different, and food is
Yes.
quite different.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. But I use Shutterstock, and Shutterstock are pretty good because you can get a whole year's package and then just use it throughout the year, which is quite good. Although you do also have to be careful with things like Shutterstock and any of the paid images to make sure that they're okay if you're going to use them commercially. They're usually really cheap to use editorially, but if you want to use them commercially for a client, it often costs a lot more.
Yeah, I buy sort of packs maybe twice or three times a year through Shutterstock for stuff that I can't get on Canva. And often a client will come to me with an image and say, I want this exact image. And it's like, okay, so I have to try and hunt down that image, which can be a bit tricky if you don't have a code or anything for it. But I think Shutterstock, they do a deal which is like $49 for 5 images or something like that, and you've got a year to use them. It could
be. I've used that too, and that's quite good. If you've got a project coming up, it's usually worth for $45. You can usually use a couple of images, and then throughout the year I've used them, you know,
for other things.
Well.
But I generally then will pass the cost on to the client, like a fraction of that cost onto the client. But if you want to try Shutterstock and you don't want to pay that $50 initially, there is a couple of really good places to get a free month on Shutterstock. Gratisography.com. They give you a free month, and stocksnapio.io, which is something we have in our 60 tools as one of our favourite image places. They also offer a free 30-day trial with Shutterstock. So take that up and see if it's something that you might use. Yeah.
I mean, it's changing all the time because I use Unsplash a lot, and I also use Unsplash a lot for mock-ups. Before, like I did a brief this week for a photographer, and I went on to Unsplash and I got a lot of conceptual images, so I could just put in the brief and the photographer will gives them an idea of feel, and he'll shoot the local ones. And you can also use Shutterstock or even Getty. While they actually have great editorial and sport photos and newsy photos, they're great. It's expensive, and I think probably should double check, Rach, but they've only just started allowing you to buy a shot at a time. Before you had to have a really expensive subscription. So if you wanted one or two photos,
I think that's the same with Shutterstock. I looked the other day to buy one image, and I couldn't. I had to do a pack. So they kind of try and tie you down so you keep coming back.
Exactly. And Getty, a lot of the media outlets use Getty, and Getty are great. If you did lots of news, they're worthwhile. But it's pretty hard to just use one or two shots. But if you're working for a media outlet, you can go into Getty and do a bit of a search and give them the Getty code, and they can buy it because all the media outlets have really good contracts with Getty.
Yeah, that's true. Just give them the code. So it's kind of like a research thing that you would do and charge them for the time, or a project management thing you would do.
Yeah. And Getty's better with also things like celebrities and stuff like that. If you need red carpet or all that sort of stuff, then it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things I do is I have a huge contact list of PRs, particularly in the niche that I work in of home and food, and they can supply images. So if it's for editorial, even for related non-competing clients. So I might get for, say, like the roof tile company I work for often, I might get some lovely stuff from people like Caesar Stone or Laminex or something to get interesting colours, or some of the paint companies, things like that. A lot of the paint companies are really great if you want sort of room shots or atmospheric lifestyle images, and they don't mind as long as they're credited. If it's editorial, they'll give it to you easily. If it's more of a commercial thing, some sort of cross promotion, I always just make it clear. And there's a couple of really good image libraries for those sort of uses called one's Press Loft, I use a lot, which is mostly homewares and interiors, and Flaunter, which has a lot more fashion and lifestyle. And they're great for things. It's got things, brands like West Elm and Freedom and IKEA and Fantastic Furniture, all those sort of things. So if you wanted to get a particular style, that's actually quite good. or products. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget, like, though, Canva Pro, which I've got a Canva Pro account just for one user for me. And it still means I can sometimes share some image I'm working on with one of my Rachel's List team, and they can adjust it in their Canva. They don't need to be a user in my Canva, which is quite good.
Oh, that's quite good.
Yeah, but if you just use it for yourself and for clients, which is basically what I do, it's about 120 a year, and you have access to about 400,000 images. And some are free and others are taken from paid image databases, but they cost you $1 each to use.
Yeah, I use Canva a lot, particularly because I use Canva for social media, and it's great because it's all in the one platform. So I usually start, if I'm doing social media sort of image sourcing, I start with Canva because that's where I'm working the project. Yeah.
And also, like, it makes it so easy, doesn't it, with social media particularly. Say you've got a client who is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn, and they want the same image to go across every platform.
Yeah.
You know, before Canva, what did we do? We were madly
have to use Photoshop,
resizing them. Oh, what a nightmare. So Canva, you can just basically click all the platforms that you want the image to go on, and it will just go and magically resize them for those images and give you an image for each platform, and then you can just go in and tweak it to make it look the best it can for that platform, which takes seconds. And then you've got them all, and it's such a massive time saver. So I don't know, is that
it's fantastic.
Can you do that on the free version, or is that a pro functionality? It probably is.
Oh, I don't know, because I've got the pro. I don't have the free version either. In fact, I think Canva is, if you're doing anything in content marketing or any sort of corporate content, Canva is essential now. Or obviously the Adobe suite, which is a bit more complex and a bit more expensive. But if you're doing high-end stuff, the Adobe suite is good.
Yeah.
And Adobe also has a really good image library. So you can use their image library.
What about Google Images? Do you ever use them?
With Google, you've got to be careful about copyright. A lot of clients will send you Google Images. When you're searching for images, you can go into the advanced search button and click on it and filter out copyright-free and royalty-free images. So you only get ones that are basically in the public domain. And so you can get that. And that's quite good for things like historical photos. Say if you wanted to get a picture of, say, Sydney back in 1812, that's the place to go. And you
Google
can get
Images.
things from a lot of government libraries and things like that. It's quite handy. Also, I sometimes use it as a basically, you know, the way it's intended to for search. So if I'm looking for a particular style of image, I will actually search through Google, find out where it comes from, and go to the photographer or the client or the company and ask if I can use it. So yeah, it is a great tool, but I mean, you've got to be so careful with copyright. You can't just use anything off Google, and some clients, of course, think that you can. Yeah.
Yes.
And also anything on Google is often not good enough image quality wise as well, which is up to our next point. Isn't that a good segue, Rachel?
Yeah, I think Michelle also put in her query when she was asking us to do this episode, she asked about technical specs. Now, Lynn and I come from this in very different ways.
Different ways, which is good, isn't it?
Tech. I'm going to start because I think there's a lot to unpack here because we're not really sure what you would need the technical specs for. So we'll try and cover off on a range of things. So say that you were sourcing images for a client's blog. You really want to be aware that the banner sizes will differ depending on the theme, if it's a WordPress theme. So, for example, Rachel's List banners are 1200 by 350, but I've worked on so many clients' websites where the banners were all completely different, like 1900 by 800 or, and you never know what those are. So you could really think, well, I'm just going to use a banner size. That's where you shouldn't use a banner size that's on Canva and just choose whatever they give you, because you actually need to know. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time trying to fit an image into a website banner and make it look good. And once it's uploaded, it can crop in weird ways and you'll spend time doing it again and again. So just my tip, firstly, ask the client if they have the banner specs. And if they don't seem to know, you can log into the CMS and go to the media gallery if it's on WordPress and see if there are any existing banners in there. And if you click on one, it'll give you the technical specs of the banner image in the right-hand side panel. So it'll say 1200 by 400 or something like that. And then you have that and you can base your banners on those specs. But I think it's always best to follow those sizes so that you're not, spending so much time and, basically getting your banners to look crap once they're uploaded to the blog. And another tip, if you know the theme the client's using or you're starting from scratch, it's like a website that's being built and they're trying to populate it with copy and they need the banners designed and all of that, or they need you to get images for, say, 3 blog posts that they can go live with, and you have no idea what the specs are. You can always find out the theme and Google it. So say the theme is Crocal. You would Google Crocal and demo, or Crocal documentation, or Crocal WordPress theme documentation, and it will give you the text sizes for all the images, like the thumbnails, the banners and everything. So that's a quick and easy way not to waste time working on client blogs. Yeah.
I find one of the things that I'm constantly resizing is I do a newsletter, a couple of newsletters for clients through MailChimp. MailChimp also has its own specs, but MailChimp has a photo editing suite within it. So I use that because it actually has, I upload a picture and then it takes me through the photo editing and I edit it that way.
And MailChimp will also tell you this photo is too big or this photo is too small. Can you edit it? And
exactly.
So
it is really easy. Yeah. For me, I see specs slightly differently. One of the things is if you're using images for the web, 72 DPI is usually sufficient on a screen. Otherwise, it will take ages to load the page. So that's important. Don't have really high res images for the web because it will slow your site down.
And let me jump in there. Like if you're doing that on Canva, it won't tell you that it's 72 DPI. It has a slider when you're downloading the image. So you can do large image or medium. And if you go to medium, it's actually like medium sized image. It's actually good enough for online, but it'll be smaller. So it'll help the page load.
Yeah. Oh, good idea. Thank you.
As you were.
But one of the things is I do also source images for print. And that sometimes when it's editorial for all the magazines I work for, but even if you're doing a brochure or something, and this is where it can get tricky because so many people don't work in print anymore and they'll supply you with images that aren't good enough. And if you need an image for print, it needs to be at least 300 DPI and a decent size. So it has to be 300 DPI at the size it's going to run. So if it's a full page ad in a magazine, it has to be 300 DPI at A4 size. So it has to be a big size. And a lot of clients don't understand that. And even worse, if they've taken it with their iPhone or something like that, it's just not good enough. It's surprising how few people understand the differences. It's always good to sort of work out where it is. And if you're doing a photo shoot, you always shoot in the highest resolution possible because it's easier to downsize. So that's important. JPEGs are usually best, although for print I often ask for TIFF files, which are Photoshop files, and that ensures that they're high enough in resolution. And print-ready photo files are huge too. Often, they can easily be 52 megs or 120 megs, so that's really big. You can't email them. So you do need cloud-based storage and some sort of way to transfer them to the client. I always upload things to Dropbox and send a client a link, but you can do that with Google Drive as well, which everyone has. So that's important because some people don't understand. Even a 16 meg file, if you're emailing, often a lot of companies will have filters that stop it. And another thing to note is if you're sourcing images for websites or online for blogs and stuff, it's better to look for landscape versions, like horizontal versions, rather than portrait. The web and Facebook usually favour that.
Great tip.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you get a gorgeous detail shot and it's portrait and you can't use it. Or you crop out all the interesting bits when you put it in. So they favour landscape, and while Instagram needs a square image. So when you are doing it, think about the end use of it. When I commission photography, I request that at least 2/3 of the images are landscape. And the hero image always should be landscape because it's pretty rare that it's going to be a portrait size. And same when sourcing images. Print is different, but these days online is the most common destination. So you get a few portrait shots, that's fine. And also the other thing I wanted to say is that sourcing good imagery is really time consuming. It's a skill and you should be paid for that. So I always charge clients for my time. I charge project management fees, even if I don't I'm not commissioning photography, so I'm just sourcing them. And I think it's really important. What about you?
Yeah, I charge for it as well. Yeah. I just add it on as an hourly rate, really, because it takes forever. It can take longer than the actual writing of
Yeah,
whatever
it
they
can.
need, Yeah. So hats
And I
off to
do.
all the the pick editors out there who have all the secrets, because oh my gosh, you guys
Oh, yeah.
got it going on. It really is a hard job finding the right images.
And it is underappreciated. So,
Yeah.
and it's very easy if you're starting this to think, oh, yeah, can you just source images for that? Yep, that's great. And it does take time. And I think it's important that you add that onto your invoice at the end.
Except maybe
Okay.
with editors, because sometimes they'll expect you to go and source all the images with PRs, won't they?
Yes. And they do, which is fine, but it takes a long time. I do a lot of buyer's guides for interior magazines, and also editors want usually at least 2 to 3 times more options than they need. So they might be running a story with 15 images, and they'll want 40 to choose from.
Oh my God.
And so that is really exhausting. That's what I do. And when I do source from PRs for that sort of thing, I'm always really clear about saying I'm supplying it to the art department for options. I can't guarantee it'll make it.
Yes, and try and negotiate with the editor to weave in some pick research time. They might not give it to you, but you're more likely to get it off a copywriting client or a content marketing client than a print editor, who will expect you to just add the images in sometimes if their budgets are really tight, but just something to be aware of.
Yeah, exactly. I've found editors do appreciate of that, because they don't have the resources now. And a lot of magazines used to have a photo editor on staff, or a bigger art department, and they don't anymore. So that's why it increasingly comes back to the writers.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's it.
I think we've given Michelle Bowes quite a lot there to
we have
go
we
away
have.
with. She's probably rocking in the fetal position in a corner. It's like, oh no. No, it's hopefully useful, Michelle.
Hopefully, yes. Well, that's the plan anyway.
Go on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think it is increasingly being asked of writers, so it's a good skill and good knowledge to have.
I think so. But this is the last episode for our 4th season, and we're going to just take a couple of weeks off, and then we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more guests. We have some great guests lined up, don't we?
We do. We have some fantastic guests lined up, some really practical ones, of course, and some industry leaders, and we're very excited. It's been so much fun, and it's actually, I think, next week is a year that we've been doing this, Rachel.
Oh my God, we're going to have to, we're going to crack the champagne. Actually, we are going to go out for a drink and celebrate.
We definitely do.
A year in the podcast world. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody who has supported us along the first year of our podcasting journey and put up with our occasionally sketchy sound and the budgie tweeting in the background and my croaky voice and all the
my builders
and our problems with headphones and scratchiness and wearing scarves. We're learning all the time, and we are getting better, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. If there's any topic you want us to cover in the next season, send us an email at thecontentbite@gmail.com.
Sounds good. Okay, guys, we'll be back in your ears in a couple of weeks. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.